Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Good Grief, Life After Loss. I feel like it has been forever since I recorded a new episode, and I apologize for that. This summer has been hectic. Work has been hectic. There's just been a lot, and so I've chosen to prioritize me and my mental health when necessary, hoping to be back, be more consistent. And I think I said earlier, I have a lot more interviews lined up. So I'm really excited for those. I just have to find the time and the mental capacity to actually make it all happen. And honestly, I was planning on taking a little bit more time off, but this week's episode felt like it couldn't wait. And so I wanted to get this to you guys as soon as possible. And there is a lot I've been trying to figure out how to say this week. Because when someone dies, there is truly no right thing to say ever. And unfortunately, that is what happened. Someone young died in my hometown in Park City. His name is Jack. Jack is 26 years old. He's a skier. He went to the winter sports school in Park City. He's a ski coach. He's one of those people who seems to be woven into so many different parts of the community. And even though I didn't get to know Jack myself, I know that he was deeply, deeply loved by so many people. And Jack had been battling cancer for the last month after his diagnosis. It all happened very quickly. And for that time, his family's entire life revolved around the ICU. They dropped everything. They sat beside him. They hoped. They prayed. And just like so many people in Park City, the community rallied around them. And then just a few days before Jack's 27th birthday, we all heard the news that he had passed away. And I want to be really careful about how I talk about Jack because I didn't know him. I know his family. I know his sister. We grew up together. We played soccer. We ran track. But I don't want to sit here and tell you that I lost a friend because I did not. I don't want to take someone else's grief and make it mine because I know how frustrating it is to witness that firsthand. So with that preface, you may be asking, then why am I talking about this? And I am talking about this because I think sometimes grief gives you a new perspective. And this time, I wasn't the person in the middle of it all, sitting next to my brother's hospital bed. This time, I was watching it from the outside, and that has been really interesting to me because for most of my life, when Park City has experienced a young person's death, I've understood it from one perspective only, and that is my perspective. I understood it as the girl who lost her brother, the girl whose family was suddenly in the middle of a community's attention. I was the girl whose brother was in a coma in a hospital on the other side of the world and whose entire family dropped everything to be beside him. I was the girl whose community waited patiently and desperately for updates, who prayed, who hoped, who wanted to believe that Sam was going to make it. And then, worst of all, I was the girl whose family had to go and tell everyone that he didn't. And I know what it is like to be in the middle of that. But this time I was watching a different family go through it. And I realized how different it feels to be on the outside. And so while I can't tell you what it feels like to lose Jack, I do know what it feels like to have your entire life become a hospital room. I know what it feels like to have an entire community waiting for you and praying for you. I know what it feels like to have to tell a community that the person everyone was rooting for did not make it. And to watch Jack's family go through something so similar has made me think about something that I don't think I fully understood when I was 14, which is that there is so much beauty in people showing up. But at the same time, there's something really complicated about having the worst thing that has ever happened to your family happen so publicly. Because when someone you love is sick, when they are hurt, you are already so overwhelmed. You're dealing with more than you ever thought you would deal with in your life. You're scared, you're exhausted, you're trying to understand what is happening. And at the same time, everyone you know and don't know is watching. They're asking for updates, they're praying, they're hoping, they're sending messages, they're trying to help in any way possible. And all of that love is truly, truly incredible. But sometimes love can also feel like a lot when you're already carrying more than you can handle. And I remember that. And while I, of course, have so much sympathy for any family who has to go through this unimaginable loss and pain, watching this happen from the outside has also given me this new sense or discovery of sympathy for the community members who are simply trying to help and feeling so helpless. Because I now feel like I understand both sides. I understand what it feels like to be the person everyone is rallying around, everyone is sending messages to and hoping and praying for. And I also understand what it feels like to be the person desperately wanting to do something for a family you care about, but knowing that there is absolutely nothing you can do to fix this. And I want to acknowledge how hard that helplessness is for the people on the outside too. And it's something that I don't think I fully understood at the time when I was in the middle of going through my own loss. And I think that's part of what has made this loss feel so heavy in Park City, because this community, and specifically the ski community, has experienced this before. Almost 11 years ago, we lost my brother Sam. And then 4 years ago, we lost Chuck, who so many loved and adored in a ski accident. And in the middle of all of that, we lost a lot of other young community members way, way too soon. And now we're grieving Jack. And I don't want to reduce any of these people to the way they died. They were so much more than accidents and illnesses. They were sons, brothers, friends, athletes, coaches, young people who had entire lives ahead of them. But when you're from a small community, you don't necessarily grieve each person separately and on their own. Sometimes one loss brings another one back. Sometimes a new tragedy opens a wound that you thought had scarred over, and sometimes seeing another family sitting beside a hospital bed takes you right back to your own. And I think that's one of the strange things about grief is it doesn't exist in a straight line. It layers, it accumulates, it just piles on. And sometimes someone else's loss can just reopen that wound and make you feel your own all over again, no matter how long it's been. And not because you're making their loss about you, but because grief changes the way you see the world. And once you have experienced it, you cannot unknow it. Once you've joined the club, you are in it forever. And maybe that's the biggest thing I've been thinking about this week, is that life isn't fair. At all, actually. Bad things happen to good people all the time. And there isn't always a lesson. There isn't always a reason. And sometimes the person that everyone is praying for and rallying around the most doesn't make it. And that's the hardest part. Because we want to believe that if enough people rally around someone, if enough people pray and hope and love them, somehow that love will be enough to save them. But sometimes it isn't, and that is devastating. But it doesn't mean the love didn't matter. It mattered enormously. It made all the difference it could. It just couldn't change the outcome. And I think that's something our community has had to learn over and over again. And it just breaks my heart because we have such a beautiful, close, tight-knit community, and why has there been so much grief and loss? And it just feels so unfair. Like, what did we all do to deserve to know this much loss and to lose so many beautiful, young, bright people way too early? And one of the things that's really struck me since Jack passed is seeing people talk about Sam. People have commented on Jack's posts saying things like, "Fly high, Jack, say hi to Sam for us." People are posting blue hearts like they did for Sam. And something that really broke my heart is seeing that Jack had such a connection to Sam. He had the words "live like Sam" in his Instagram bio. 10 years later, no one still has that in their Instagram bio, besides me, his sister. He had the "live like Sam" sticker right on his laptop, and he wore the bracelet every single day. And he carried Sam's name with him, and that has meant a lot for me, and I wish I knew it before. I wish it didn't take such a tragedy for me to know that and to know that he carried Sam's memory with him. And it's not that I think Jack was supposed to be connected to Sam or that their stories somehow mirrored each other, but because it reminds me that we have no idea how long the people we lose continue to live within other people. I mean, I lost Sam when I was 14 years old. And one of the strangest parts of grief is realizing that there are other people who knew Sam in ways I never did. There are also people who met him after we lost him, who formed such a strong connection with him somehow after he passed away. But there are also people who carry stories about him that I don't have, that I never knew. There are people who have kept his memory alive without me ever even knowing it. Jack was one of those people. And now, in a completely different way, this community is going to carry Jack forward, because that's what we do. We carry them. And I think that's where I'm trying to go with this episode, is not into advice about how to grieve, because there truly is no universal playbook. There's no perfect things to say or way to act or thing to do. There's no 5-step process for losing someone you love. At least I don't believe there is. And I certainly do not have all the answers, but I do have some things that I think are worth considering if you are someone standing on the outside of a loss like this. If you are a friend, a teammate, a coach, a community member, someone who wants so desperately to help and doesn't know how. First, I will say, and I know this sounds obvious, but remember that this is worse for them, the family, than it is for you. Because sometimes when someone we care about is hurting, we become uncomfortable with their pain. And even though I have grieved myself and experienced loss, I still relate to that. I still become uncomfortable with other people's pain. Because we want to fix it. We want to say the right thing. We want to make sure they know we are there and we care. And sometimes, instead of helping, we can make our need to help become one more thing that that person has to manage. So if you text someone who is grieving, do not expect a response. If you call, do not expect them to call you back. If you offer to help, don't make them figure out what they need you to do. And if they don't respond to you, don't take it personally. I can speak from experience that sometimes even answering the people who love you and their kind, sweet messages is exhausting and overwhelming. I remember how meaningful it was to know that people were there if I needed them. But I also remember how overwhelming it could feel when I felt like I needed to respond to everyone all at once. So sometimes the best message you can send is simply, I'm here for you and you don't need to respond. And then actually mean it. Don't say it if you don't mean it. The second thing is to keep saying their name. I think people sometimes worry that talking about someone who died will make their family sad. They're already thinking about him. They already know that he is gone. And by you saying his name, you are reminding them that he hasn't been forgotten. So tell them when you saw something that reminded you of him. Tell them a story. Tell them you were thinking about him. Ask them about him when they are ready. And don't assume that because the funeral is over, the grief must be over too. It's during the first few weeks that everyone knows you're supposed to ask, how are you? I'm here for you. How can I help you? But it's months later when the world starts moving again and suddenly no one is showing up. That is when people need you more than ever. That is when they need you to show up for them. And the final thing I'm going to say is to remember that grief changes the people you expect to be there. This is something that I have learned a lot about over the past almost 11 years now, which is that after you lose someone, there will be people who you never expected to become part of your life, your tribe, your circle, who suddenly become your people. They will show up. They will understand things you never thought anyone could understand. They will sit with you in the really ugly, hard parts of grief. And sometimes, unfortunately, the people who you thought would be there will not be. And honestly, I think that can be a whole other loss by itself. So if you're someone who's listening and is grieving right now, I want you to know that the people who show up may not always be the people you expected, but let them become your people. And if you're someone standing outside of the grief, be willing to be one of those people, not because you know exactly what to say, not because you're even best friends with the griever, but because you are willing to stay. And I think that is what Park City is really good at: staying, showing up, rallying around each other. And sometimes it's messy, it's overwhelming. Sometimes people don't know what to do or what to say, but they still show up anyways. And I really think that is something worth protecting, because there's something incredibly special about a community that refuses to let a family feel completely alone in the worst moment of their lives. However, I think we can maybe also learn how to do it a little more gently, not as loud. To offer help without expecting anything back, to give people space when they need it, to keep showing up after the attention fades. To remember that the family doesn't need us to make this okay. They just need to know that we are still here and we still remember. And honestly, I don't know what Jack's family and friends need right now. And none of us outside of that group really do know. And so I don't want to pretend that I do. But what I do know is they are hurting. I know this is every parent and every sibling and every friend's worst nightmare. And I think that's part of why this has hit our community so hard, because it feels too close to home. Because so many people in our beautiful Park City community have experienced way too much loss. And so many people know what it feels like to get the phone call that you never wanted to get, that you never thought you would get, or to sit in a hospital room and hope, or to watch your friend lose their brother, or to watch your parents lose their child, or to lose someone yourself. And maybe that's why this community feels and supports so deeply, because we remember. And like I said at the start of all this, I unfortunately didn't know Jack. But I do know that he mattered to his family, his friends, to so many of the young athletes he coached in this community. I know that he mattered to Park City. And I also know that his death has brought a lot of grief back to the surface for the people who loved and lost before him. The people who loved and lost Sam and Chuck and so many others. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that is part of loving. And maybe that is all we can do now, is we can remember Jack, we can say his name, we can tell his stories, we can take care of the people who loved him, we can take care of the kids who looked up to him, and we can keep showing up. Because life is not fair, bad things happen to good people, and sometimes there is nothing we can do to change that, no matter how hard we try. But what we can do is decide what to do with the love that remains. And maybe that's what grief asks us to do. It's not make sense of it, not to find a lesson or a meaning or a glass half full, but to simply carry it, to carry them and to carry each other. And so to all of you listening, all I guess I have to say to wrap this up is to hug those you love, hug those around you, because unfortunately, we never know how long we will have. We have to live every day as if it is our last. And to the community members in Park City who are full of sorrow and grief and confusion right now, I hope that you can take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and find your own special way to honor Jack and carry him forward with you for a very, very long time. That's all I have for you. Thank you for tuning in today. I'm sending so much love to all of my listeners. And yeah, that's all I have. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we will talk soon.